Alright folks, welcome to the latest Tank Tuesday. If you're new to this series, we have a 300-gallon aquarium. We've got a big bluegill named Sheriff. We got two largemouth bass named Bonnie and Clyde. And we also have two crawfish inside of this house right here named Red and Red Jr. So today's video is going to be a lot about aquascaping. We're going to go with a natural theme. That's why we built this little Stonehenge. And we've got some new things like driftwood we're going to be putting in. We've got a lot of new plants we're going to put in. So we're going to go ahead and do our weekly water change, drop the water levels down, get a lot of these plants planted, and take you along with us. Alright, so we ended up getting two of these Python hoses, and that's how we take the water out. And it takes so long with just one that we ended up getting a second one. So we're going to start the draining now and get it down to about 50%. Alright, so you never want to put driftwood directly into a tank. So what we're doing is Liz has the hose that we're pulling the water out of the tank with, and we're going to wash the wood off and wash it really good and get all the loose particles out. And then we're going to put it in a bucket and soak it for, you want to do it a minimum 24 hours. And what you're trying to do is get rid of all the tannins and the stuff that will leach out of the wood over time. Alright, so we got our wood rinsed off, we got our bucket filled up. We're just going to leave these out here for around 24 hours at least. We'll probably end up giving it a couple days because we're not in that big of a rush to put them in the tank. So I'm going to let those soak. Alright, and one other thing we've been soaking, some of you may remember the BamaBass letters that we got to put in the tank, and they're made of walnut, and we found out that walnut can also leach out a chemical that's not good for fish. So we've been soaking these for 3 weeks now, and we're probably going to soak them for at least another month and then probably boil them because we want to make sure that we don't introduce any bad chemicals to the tank. Alright, this is the first round of plants that are going in. Make sure you spray it with hydrogen peroxide to kill off all the bugs and stuff. But check out this right here. It's a Marimo log. That's pretty cool. Alright, we have the water level down to 50%. We're about to start planting. We got a GoPro inside of the tank so we can do a quick little time lapse. And this will be the before and after. Alright folks, I just spent the last 2 hours planting plants. We put more hairgrass here in the front, and we also built it up a lot. We got clover, and if you're interested in any of these plants, links to them in the description below. But y'all, let us know what you think about this. We built it up, trying to make it look like an underwater pond, give these bass some plants and stuff to hang around. Check out our little Marimo log. Alright, we're about to put some water back in here and feed these fish. Alright, we just got it powered back up. We planted a ton of plants. That's why we have all this debris in there, but you can see how good that these jets push that around. That's why it's so important to have that. It'll filter, push that through the filter so much quicker than it would without them. So we've got them both set up flowing, pushing that around. This tank should be looking good in about an hour. Alright, so it's the next day now. Now that everything's settled in, let's take a look. Liz and I are happy with the way everything's turned out. Fish are getting hungry. Got one more update I want to show you with our driftwood. Alright, look at how brown that water is. That's all leached out of that wood. I'm about to dump this water out, fill it back up. But you can see this, that it's been soaking for 3 weeks now. It's not nearly as brown, so we're making progress here. We're just going to keep soaking this wood until the water's clear, and then we'll put it in the tank. Alright, so let's check on Lucky this morning. Oh, there he is. Alright guys, enough aquascaping. It is time to feed these fish. You can always tell when they're hungry whenever they get out from under that tree and they get up here and they'll basically follow your finger around. So you know they're hungry. I'm about to drop some minnows in there for them. It's been a while since I've fed them really good, so I think we're going to drop a bunch of them in there. I'm just going to set the camera up and let's watch them eat. Alright, while I was feeding them, I saw Red Jr. come out of the little hole right there, and he was looking like he was a little bit hungry, so I'm going to go ahead and drop some little bottom pellets down in there and see if I can get him to come out and eat. And then we got Red here in the main house. Might put him a few down in there as well. Man, that was quick. Before I could even get the pellets all the way down in the house, he shot out there and grabbed them. We'll see if he... We got Bonnie right there standing guard, but I'm going to see if he'll come out and get that last one. Well guys, here I am trying to feed our crawfish. And of course, like always, Sheriff being the hog that he is, he's reaching up into the castle and eating the crawfish's little pellets. So the struggle is real. Alright, so let's see if the Sheriff wants to eat the pellets. Can we keep it? Nope. Spit it out, ate it again. Spit it out, ate it again. With a piece of grass. Just drop them up. And then the bass ate it. Wow, I never would have thought a bass would have ate a pellet with a piece of grass on it. Alright, Sheriff still seems a little bit hungry. He's a growing boy. So I'll drop him a couple more worms down in there and then we're going to call it a night. Alright, I got a lively one. Yep, didn't last long. I think these are definitely his favorite. Alright, Sheriff, last worm for the night. Got him. Alright, you ought to be full by now. Bonnie's after the big one. Scared it away. Alright, Clyde's out now. Alright, it's safe to say these fish have settled into their new tank. They've gotten extremely aggressive when it comes to feeding them. They all seem to be getting along really good. I'm going to roll some of these feeding clips, and at the same time I'm going to go through and answer some of the top questions from last week's video. Alright, first question. It comes from Justin Gregory, and he asked, how can you tell the difference between Bonnie and Clyde? So Bonnie has a darker, greener tint, and Clyde has a whiter, kind of paler tint, and that's how we tell the difference. Bonnie's also a little bit bigger. Alright, next question comes from Daniel. He says, what would happen if you left a bunch of minnows in the tank? Will the fish eat them throughout the day or all at once? So yeah, a lot of times when we feed them until they stop eating. But for instance, if we go out of town on the weekend, we'll go ahead and kind of overload it, and we'll just, you know, maybe drop a couple dozen minnows in there at a time. But these fish are extremely aggressive, and especially at night. At night, the minnows don't really see them, so the fish feed on them heavily at night. So most of the time, if they're hungry, they're going to feed heavily at night. And so that's something we've kind of learned, you know, for this past year, having these bass in the tank, that bass really are active feeders at night. It's pretty cool to see that, you know, on a day-to-day basis. Next question comes from Jake Alexander. He says, how often do you feed Bonnie, Clyde, and Sheriff? We feed them every day. So on average, I'd say the bass eat around 4 to 6 minnows per day, and Sheriff eats a couple minnows, and we try to feed him, you know, 3 or 4 worms. So we feed them every day. They're growing, they're hungry, so we got to keep feeding them. Alright, next question comes from Cole Zender. BamaBass, will Bonnie and Clyde spawn together? I can't answer that question, but it definitely is a possibility. I have seen fish that are in tanks spawn before, and you'll end up seeing a bunch of fry, but I can't answer that question right now, but you better believe if it happens, you guys will see it. Alright, next question from Jeffy Billy. What are you going to do with Bonnie and Clyde's old tank? So we have a 55-gallon tank we used to keep them in, and Liz has been tossing around some ideas, but I want you guys to tell us in the comments below what you would like to see us do with their old 55-gallon tank. Alright, a question from Jack Krivenik. What type of dog do you have and how old is it? Milo is a Maltese and he is 4 years old. Alright, this is a question that we've gotten a lot, and it's from Mitch Newhouse, and he asked, how are you sure that the structure of your house could support that much aquarium weight and that it wouldn't fall into the basement or crawl space? Well, our house sits on a concrete slab, and so therefore we didn't have to worry about flooring or extra braces to support the floor because we are on a concrete slab. Alright, and a question from Blake Herr. Why not add lily pads into the tank? Well, you will be happy with one of our next Tank Tuesday videos. Lily pads coming soon. Alright guys, so that's all the questions for this Tank Tuesday, but leave comments below on what you would like to see in upcoming Tank Tuesdays, and also leave questions that you have in the comment section below, and we'll try our best to answer all the questions we can each video. So hope you enjoyed this Tank Tuesday, and we'll see you guys next Tuesday.
We're pretty looking people, but I can tell you people, they were the devil's children.